Well, hey there, you're on the internet, I have some free time, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nib nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Now, before we begin, I'll admit I can be a bit of a pessimist, I can be a bit of an elitist, so today's ink, Lamy Black, I had never given it a try before. As you can see, I've got a couple Lamy pens, and you tend to get Lamy cartridges when you buy them. And I always figured, if they're giving it away for free, it can't be that good. And now I regret that. Now, the pens that were used were this Lamy Safari with a 1.1 stub, and this Lamy Safari with an extra fine nib. Now, let's check out the chromatography. This is how you're supposed to do chromatography, where you instantly dunk it in the water after the drop of ink is put down. And as you can see, there's something all kinds of weird going on here. There's like this almost gold thing going on. I don't know how else to describe it. It's kind of gray. And then you get this almost purple up at the top. And then lately, because I've been bored, I've been letting the ink dry, which is how you're not supposed to do it, before dunking it in water. But as you can see, there's a marked difference. This dot is much, much darker, and mostly what moves up here sort of retains more of that purple. Now I thought I'd compare it to some other black inks. Here's Noodler's Dark Matter, Parker's Quink Black, here's Lamy Black right here, Noodler's Black Eel, Noodler's Heart of Darkness, and Mont Blanc Mystery Black. Now, these were all water tests. That was the water test there and there. And then there were also bleach tests. Now, predictably, because that's not sort of what Lamy does, it didn't hold up well to the bleach test. In fact, it turned this weird orange. But it actually did okay on the water test. Now, top down to density, Clairefontaine 90 grams per square meter. It's a decent black. Not going to deny it. There's essentially no shading. 6 seconds to dry on the extra fine, 9 seconds to dry on the stub. Yeah, there's no bleed, feather, spread, there's no sheen. There's really not much echo at all, even in that stub. I'd say it's a 6 out of 10 wetness. It's just on the side of wet. And this is actually a pretty good water test for not like some fancy chemically engineered Noodler's science project, just a standard proprietary black cartridge. I'm impressed. It did dye the page a bit. Some of it did wash away, but it's still pretty there. It's still pretty clear. It didn't explode. The bleach test turned it orange again, and it's gone, but next is Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter, where again, I think it showed very well, but for some reason the dry time was longer here. I can't really explain that. In the extra fine it was 7 seconds, in the 1.1 stub it was 11. Yeah, there's no bleed, no feather, no spread, no sheen, there's very little echo, except in the scrubby, but I was really laying it on. And again, that's a very decent water test. Some of it did wash away, yes, but a lot of it's still there, and it did dye the page a bit. Again, the bleach test kind of... Next is Tomoe River Paper, where you do sort of see a bit of shading if you're really, really looking for it, but yeah, as you can see, just it started flowing really freely out of the stub here, and you can see that in the smear test. So it took 15 seconds to dry in the stub and 8 seconds in the extra fine. But I was actually really enjoying this ink on this paper. There's no shading, which is how I personally like my black inks. No bleed, feather, spread. There is some echo because this is an extremely thin paper and this is black ink. But Tomoe River loves to let ink slide away when you add more water. That's really not bad. I mean, the extra fine might be a bit difficult, but I mean, that's really clear in the stub. Did dye the page a bit, and again, the bleach test did all kinds of weird stuff. Next is 20-pound copier paper, where I only use the extra fine. And as I said, this paper must be extremely awful, because I mean, this is an extra fine, and I mean, it's not going to come up on camera, but there are about 100 little dots all across the back, and there is a good degree of spread. I mean, if you look at this, so that's extra fine, and then this, I mean, it's a huge marked difference. Yeah, but as I say, this paper is extremely awful. I'm confident that an extra fine on most 20-pound paper will perform better than this. However, this is a pretty decent water test. It didn't explode too much, it didn't feather too much, it did dye the page, but it's fairly readable. Bleach test, still kicking butt. Next is Mead Notebook Paper, where I usually only use the finer nib of the two, but this time I used both, and I'm glad I did, because you can see the extra fine took 4 seconds, the stub took 6, but look at that. There's no bleed. There's some serious echo because this paper is so darn thin, but it didn't make it all the way through, except right here at the very edge, which is a pressing problem and the water test. But yeah, this is a really solid black ink. I regret not trying it. Here you do see there's a bit of feathering, but it's still fairly clear and it's still fairly dark. And lastly is Moleskin notebook paper, where I'm really sorry to say that these results may not be typical. This is an old batch of Moleskin paper that seems to be behaving freakishly well, but yeah, it did freakishly well yet again. 7 seconds in the extra fine, 12 in the 1.1 stub. It's very dark, very solid black ink. There's no bleed, feather, spread, no sheen. Not an obscene amount of echo, but this is a black ink. Water test is fairly decent. Some did wash away, but there's still a good bit left. So yeah, there you go. There's Lamy Black. I'm not a big fan of black inks because one of my favorite things about fountain pens are all the fun colors. And I always doubted this ink because, you know, if it's free, it can't be that good. So I thought, but I regret it. This is a very, very acceptable, actually, I'd say good black ink. For your consideration from the Triple N Network, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching. Bye.